All right, in this training video, we're going to talk about what's called mismatching. Now, let me give you the definition of what I mean by mismatching. Typically, in any sales situation with a prospect, okay, your prospect is typically going to downplay what you are saying. Let's say if you sell something that can save them money. Like, I'm going to give you an example of maybe solar and insurance for an example. But let's say if you sell anything and you upplay that, typically in a sales situation, your prospect in their mind or verbally will downplay it because they know that you're trying to make your thing seem better to try to sell it to them. So in certain contexts, if you downplay the thing, I don't mean be negative about it, but you downplay it like it's not a big deal, your prospects, number one, will let their guard down, and number two, they'll typically upplay it. And I'll show you an example of this, okay? So let's say you actually sold solar, okay? And in solar, this is a big industry we train as well, typically most salespeople upplay the bill. Like, oh, the bill's been, in our neighborhood, like when I talked to Jim, your neighbor, like their bill had gone up, 77% in the last year. Now, if you get a laydown, they might say, oh yeah, for sure, ours has too. But a lot of them, they know what you're doing. They know that pattern, okay? Or let's say like when I sold alarm systems, my first job, sales job in college, I would sell alarm systems and they would typically get like a discount on their homeowner's insurance back in the day, okay? And a lot of salespeople, they would be like, oh, you're gonna save so much money on your home insurance, you're gonna save 20%. Well, I would actually, and most of the time, the prospect would be like, well, our homeowner's insurance is not even that much. And they downplay it, and then resistance there. So I would always downplay, like, yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be that much. You're only gonna save like 12, 15%. I mean, it's not even that much money. And you know what people do? Like, well, I mean, anything helps. Or, my grandma always said a penny saved is a penny earned, right? So when I downplay it, okay, I started noticing that the prospect would make it a bigger deal, okay? So let me show you how to do this, all right? So let's say that you're selling solar, could be virtually or could be, door to door, all right? And how do I find out about their electric bill? How do I get them to let their guard down? I mean, so your electric bill, could you tell me a little bit more about those? Like, I know most of the year that, it's pretty low, but what have they been making you pay lately? Now, let me show you what I just did there. Very nuanced here, okay? So, electric bill. So instead of saying, hey, are they making you pay a lot? Are you having to pay a lot with the rate hikes? No, it's not that bad. Now, if they're a laydown, they'll agree with you. But most prospects, even in this industry, it doesn't matter, they know what you're trying to do. They know where that question leads. So even if their bill is high, they'll downplay it because they feel like you're going to charge them something. They just don't understand, all right? So your electric bill, could you tell me a little bit more about those? I know most of the year they're pretty low, but what have they been making you pay lately? Now, what did I do here? I know most of the year they're pretty low. See how I did that with my hands? Even if I'm on the phone, I'm going to do that. I know most of the year they're pretty low, but what have they been making you pay lately? Now, why did I do that? Why would I say most of the year it's pretty low? Because I'm downplaying it. You know what they say? Oh no, it's really high most of the year. So I'm downplaying it. I'm not being negative. I'm not saying, I know that your bill is not high at all and you haven't had any rate hikes for years and it's just a normal pricing. That's like too negative. That's way downplay. That's like too much. That's extreme. So you're kind of down. I know most of the year. I know a lot of the year. You can say, I know a lot of the year it's pretty low, but what have they been making you pay lately? Here's the trigger. But what have they been making you? Why would I say making you or forcing you? Because nobody in the world likes to be made or forced to do anything. See how I'm wedging myself in this example, in this industry, between the power companies and the prospect. I'm wedging myself in there that I'm there to save them. I'm instantly building trust and credibility. But what have they been making you pay lately? Notice how I lean in and in a concerned tone, like a serious tone, say, but what have they been making you pay lately? See that builds trust. See how I'm doing that? I'm mismatching. That's an example of mismatching. Or let's say if I sold, come back here to this camera. What if I sold merchant processing? So I mean, yeah, with the estimates I've got here, I mean, it's only going to save you, by going with us, it's only going to save you like $5,000 or $6,000 a month. I mean, with a company of your size, that's not even a lot of money. And you just pause. What do you think they're going to say? Yep, you're right, saving $6,000 a month, we don't need to save that. because I downplay it, they typically will be like, well, I mean, it all adds up for sure. Well, I mean, with the $5,000, we could reinvest that into this. Or they could say, well, you know, my parents always raised me to like really take care of my money. See, when I downplay it, they upplay it. But you have to be careful with that, okay? You don't want to downplay it too much. I mean, you're only going to save like $5,000 or $6,000 a month. I mean, with a company of your size, that's hardly anything for you guys. Are you kidding me? Like, my boss would love for us to save $5,000 a month. I mean, I could pay myself more than that, you know? There's something like that. So that's an example of what I call mismatching in behavioral science, okay? Let's see here. We don't need to go through this here for mismatching here. Well, here's I could show you this here. Okay, I'll just give you this example here. Prospect said with that question, well, I'm not really sure about the bill or what they raised the rate. Yeah, I mean, if you look here at your neighbors, let's say if you're if you're there in person with them, you look at your neighbors like Bill Myers, it's gone from like 13 cents a kilowatt to 28 cents a kilowatt in the last 3 years. So it's just kind of like double the bills all. Is that what XYZ Energy has been making you pay as well? Making you. See, I'm still making you. Or I could say forcing you. Or I could say, oh yeah, I mean, it's not that bad. If you look at your neighbor's bill like Bill Myers, they've only been raising it like 8 to 11% a year. So that's like it's just 30 to 35% they've been raising it in the last year. Are those the rate hikes they've been making you guys pay as well? See, notice how I didn't go into that concerned tone, like serious tone, like, oh yeah, we've been forced to do that too, okay? Or let's say, or then I can be playful here. Then I can go they're like, oh yeah, we've been having to pay. Now hold on. Are you the culprit responsible for calling in to Duke Energy and giving them permission just to like force everybody in the neighborhood to like pay these rate hikes? Was that you, John? See, I can be playful there. That's an example of a playful tone. Hope that helps you, okay? Now, let's go here. I'm going to show you some other things here on the board. We don't need to go through that right now. Okay, let me show you some what I call tie-down frames. This is really, really important here for you, okay? Because in other trainings, you're going to learn about deframing and reframing. So this is an example. We're going to stay in that same industry-specific thing here. And look, if you have questions about, hey, how do I do a tie-down frame for my industry? Or how do mismatching for my industry? Just text us. I'll leave you the phone number. You can text us with that question, okay? Now, let's say that, and this is for any industry, and like I said, we'll show you the tie-down frames for other industries as well, or just text us. We'll show you what those are. You want to make sure that with whatever you sell, you tie them down. It could be, let's say if you sold SaaS, a tie-down frame would be used to make sure they actually make the next appointment, which could be a demo for you. Or let's say if you sold home improvement, you would want to make sure that when you went back to do the design with your designers or whatever, that you have a scheduled next step appointment. So you could use a tie-down frame to make sure the prospect actually shows up to that next appointment and they don't try to push it down the road. This is what I mean by tie-down frames, okay? So let's say if I'm staying in solar area, yeah, is there anything you'd like to address to me at this point? So they've already signed up, they're ready to go, and you know, it's going to be installed, let's say, in a month from now. Well, you don't want them to cancel before it gets installed because you don't make any money. You don't get paid on that. That would be for really any industry, right? You don't want them to cancel after they bought. You don't want them to, you use tie-down frames, like I said, to make sure they don't cancel or want a refund. You use tie-down frames to make sure they set the next appointment. It's all the same, okay? So whenever you want them to show up, you want to tie it down, okay? Now, here's how I can do that. And I'm going to use more of a playful tone here. So let's come over to this video here. Now, so after no, there's nothing that we need, like it sounds good, blah, blah, the prospect tells you that. Then I'm saying, now hold on. You're not, now I want to make sure I'm not going to get a call from you guys. Now you have to do this in a playful tone. Now hold on, now before I leave here, I'm not going to get a call from you guys in the next few weeks saying, Jeremy, you know, Edison Energy, they called and convinced me to keep paying the 10% rate hikes every year. I'm not going to get that call from you, am I? Now notice what I did there. This is very nuanced here, okay? I'm not going to get a call saying they convinced me to keep paying the 10% rate hike. So I'm basically repeating back the thing that they hate and they don't want. basically saying, I'm not going to get a call saying, I want to keep doing this, right? So let's say if I sold a car. Now hold on, I'm not going to get a call from you in like 3 or 4 days saying, Jeremy, we just want to keep the old car that keeps breaking down, and we're just going to kind of hope and pray that, you know, it won't break down on the way to work where I lose my job. I'm not going to get that call from you. I'm like, oh God, we would never do that, Jeremy. And then it's really harder for them to get buyer's remorse and want to cancel. Like I said, I could do this for any industry, tie-down frames, okay? Now, you have to do it in a playful tone. Because what would happen if I did it in this tone? Now, I'm not going to get a call from you in the next few weeks saying, Jeremy, I called X, Y,